Hey guys, sorry, I'm not really sure why that video cut off, but I'm going to pick up where I left off, so you guys will have to watch both parts of this video. I do apologize. So again, I left off where we were talking about lymphatic system and the swelling. So anytime the body swells, it is telling you exactly where the infection is happening. So if you're swelling in your lymph nodes and it's telling you it's there, if you're swelling somewhere else, it's telling you that's the exact part of the region that's the problem is occurring. So it's pretty simple to understand, okay, well, something's going on with this area, it's swollen, let's figure out what it is, especially with the lymphatic system. Moving forward, so let's talk about vaccines. Vaccines are, I know they're a little controversial, but it's important to understand that vaccines do not completely assure that you're not going to get the flu or whatever it is. There's no completely effective vaccination out there that's going to say 110% you are not getting this because you have this vaccination. So what happens is vaccinations are typically a preparation of weakened or killed microorganisms of that inactivated toxin, whatever that is. If it's the flu or if it's the bird flu, whatever it might be, they're putting a weakened or killed version of that into your body so that way the immune system can spot that foreign substance and it knows what to look for. So that way it can track it down, say that's a foreign substance, let's get rid of it. So that's how vaccinations work. Moving forward into different stages and patterns of infectious diseases, so you have three different types of infectious diseases. You have acute, chronic, and latent, and we're going to talk about each one of those. So acute infections are the ones that develop rapidly and tend to last for a short period of time. So about a week would be a acute infection. So incubation period is where you have been around this pathogen, you've caught it in your cells somehow, some way, and you kind of get symptoms. So you're getting a little bit of symptoms, but you think, okay, maybe it's just dust, maybe it's just pollen, etc. The immune system is able to stop some infections during this time, and then other times when it's not, then that's what leads to illness. So you waking up with a cough one day and then it slowly fades away, the immune system's taking care of it for you. Versus you feeling a lot worse in the afternoon and your immune system cannot take care of it for you. Now the prodrome period is the initial appearance of symptoms, so you are getting sick. The immune system can't fight it off. It's struggling with it, so you are coughing more throughout the day. Maybe you're sneezing a little bit more, so you're struggling with it. Then you have the full-blown illness, which means that you're sick, you don't want to get out of bed, you don't want to move, you need to go to the doctor, whatever it is. And then the convalescence is where the acute symptoms start to die down, you're feeling better, you can do other things, and the recovery time for this just depends on your health system and what type of infection it is and how you're treating it. So then you have chronic infection, which is the prolonged infection that continues beyond the time when the immune system would usually clear things up. So chronic infection, things like hepatitis turns into chronic infection, chronic liver infection, and then chronic liver infection turns into cirrhosis. Then HIV can lead to AIDS, so all of these things lead to more further in-depth infections. Then you have the latent infection, and the latent infection is something that lies dormant in your body for a period of time, but can reoccur under certain circumstances. So chickenpox is a latent infection. We all have chickenpox, and typically if you don't get chickenpox when you're younger, then it comes back as shingles. And then shingles you can get them anywhere and everywhere, and it doesn't matter what age you are. One of my best friends from grad school ended up getting shingles on her face, and she was 24. And then another one of my friends ended up getting shingles on her arm, and she was 23. So again, these latent infections can lay dormant. Stress can cause them to reoccur, to pop up, eating habits, anything like that. Prevention for infectious diseases, this is very important for you to understand and for you to know. Most of the time you should know all these basics. Wash your hands with soap. Wash your hands, not just with water, but with soap. Cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze, and not just with your hand. Don't cover your mouth with your hand. Use your arm, use a tissue, use a paper towel, whatever you have to do that you are not spreading those airborne droplets into the air or on your hand, which you touch everything with your hands, right? Whether it be your phone, the doorknob, your car door, your steering wheel, someone else's hand, a pencil, your keyboard. Imagine all the things that you touch with your hand throughout the day. I mean, you really don't want to use your hand. If that's the very last resort, use your shirt, whatever it is that you have to use. Throw out all used tissues. That's pretty common sense. Alcohol-based hand sanitizer is much better. Make sure you read that it has alcohol in it. And good self-care. So exercise, good diet, make sure you're getting outside, eat good therapy, all of those sorts of things. Difference between the cold and the flu, both are caused by viruses, and some have the same symptoms, some don't. Excuse me. Some are mainly caused by indirect contact, so again, airborne droplets are typically the case there. Takes about 48 hours for both of these to show symptoms, and then exposure for the cold is 2 to 7 days, and the flu is 5 to 7 days, sometimes longer. Then moving forward, we have what's called the kissing disease. Everyone knows what that is. Hopefully it's mono, which is Epstein-Barr virus, EBV, and it runs in the herpes family. It's transmitted through saliva, which is why it's called the kissing disease. It's 90% of people have been infected by the age of 40 with mono, but again, it lays dormant. So it's a latent infection that can crop up under any certain circumstances. Meningitis, that's an inflammation of meninges, and that's the membranes that surround the brain and the spinal cord, which is not good. You do not want those to be inflamed. A viral infection is the most common form of meningitis, and then the bacterial infection is the most lethal form of meningitis. And typically these symptoms resolve within 7 to 10 days. Just depends. You really need to catch meningitis. That's not something that you want to play around with. Then bacterial skin infections, things like MRSA. Most football players, wrestlers typically will have breakouts of MRSA, and that's because it's a staph bacterial infection that's resistant to a lot of antibiotics. So if you don't wipe down your mat, you don't wipe down helmets, you don't wipe down things that you can share that creates skin-to-skin contact like a wrestling mat would, then you're going to have problems. Typically, MRSA results in red, swollen, painful lumps that look like pimples or insect bites, and it is painful. This requires professional care. You have to get something other than antibiotics because a lot of staph infections or bacteria are resistant to antibiotics, which is why it's very important for you to spray down things like yoga mats, wrestling mats, anything that you share with another person that could be direct skin-to-skin contact, just like things at the gym. I mean, if you do bench press and you're laying on that mat, imagine how many people have been laying on that bench press. A lot. So make sure that you wipe it down either before or after or both, just to make sure that you're not getting any type of infection that you wouldn't have been aware of, because you can't see infections. That's the not the brilliant thing, but that's the scary thing, is you can't see infections, so it's important for you to be aware and take those precautions. Okay, so that is really all I have for infectious diseases. And that's why I just wanted to do a very short clip. That was my intention, but then this whole thing messed up, so I do apologize for that again. But just a short clip on infectious diseases, talk about the immune system a little bit, so that way we're not in the dark about the immune system and how that fights off infections. So again, remember to take your quiz. Make sure you do all 5 questions. It's due before Tuesday night at midnight. We will pick up advocacy projects on Thursday. Make sure you have those turned in by Tuesday at midnight as well. And we will do those along with the substance abuse chapter. So I hope everyone has a wonderful advising day, and I'll see you guys on Thursday.